Hi, this is Steve, and he's going to be here with us today to talk about his job. Do you consent to to your video and audio being recorded for the next 20 to 30 minutes?
Yes.
Awesome. So I just have 10 questions for our students to get a feel for what you do and stuff
Okay.
and how to get started. All right, so first question is what is your job title and what do you do?
So my specific job title is I'm a business representative for a local union. I oversee the jurisdiction of any type of flooring that gets put in the construction industry. And so I'm a point of contact for contractors and for the actual installers themselves. And so they usually come to me either looking for manpower or the manpower comes to me looking for shops that are busy. And so I basically oversee the floor covering, installing industry basically in the Bay Area.
Uh-huh. So you're
Mhm.
higher up. Were you also involved with the construction and all that stuff?
So yeah, I started out like everybody else. I worked as an apprentice and then worked my way up to being a journeyman installer. I learned my industry, learned the craft itself, and then from there, I got involved in my union. I started attending union meetings, and I just kind of progressed into being elected into this position by my peers. And so that's kind of how most unions work. Every union has a representative, and those are usually elected by the memberships themselves. And then from there, you get into a different area where you can move up as well.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so on a typical day, what do you do as a union representative?
As a union representative, every day is different. It just depends. I could go in with a game plan in the morning, and one phone call can just change what my routine for the day. But on a normal day to day level, it's about servicing our membership, making sure that our members are basically being upheld to the contract that they serve. And so that's my day to day business to make sure that the contractors that employ our members are abiding by the contract. And if they're not, then I go in and we remedy the problems. And so uh, that's my normal day to day business. We go out and try and procure more hours for our members, and we do that in many different ways. Um, Either by reaching out to non-union companies and explaining the benefits of going union, and then possibly bringing in a new company, which brings more places for our members to work. We reach out to politicians. I talk to politicians on a weekly basis pertaining to health and safety laws when it comes to construction. And so, like I said, every day is there's not like a set agenda every day. Even if I'd like to set an agenda for me, it never happens because, like I said, one phone call from somebody can just change my whole day. But at the end of the day, my number one goal is to make sure that my membership is taken care of and that the employers that they work for are abiding by the contract that I negotiate for them.
Uh-huh. So you do all these different things to help
Yeah,
your union
it's
members?
absolutely that. It's a We wear so many hats. Like I sit on our pension fund, so most of our members, I'm sorry, all of our members, at the end of their careers, as long as they fulfill their obligations, they will receive a pension. So I sit on a pension board. So there might be a week where I'm in pension meetings, talking to people that have to deal with investing and finances and things like that, to assure that my members have a pension at the end of their career. And so we wear so many different hats. I basically represent about 1,200, over 1,200 people. And so there's a lot that entails with my job. Um, but at the end of the day, I tell everybody I'm just a floor layer. I'm a journeyman floor layer that installs floors. And that's where I came from. So
That's great. So you used to be a floor layer. Could you talk about like what you did, like on a typical day?
yeah. So depending on where you're at in your career, I'll start like when you first start out as an apprentice, and you get into our trades. Um, your day usually starts really early. You'll be asked to be at the shop at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning, and you report to a foreman, and your foreman will give you set tasks. When you first start out in our trade, you'll be unloading trucks, loading trucks, getting journeymen the stuff that they need for the jobs that they're going out to. You might be asked to go out with some of the journeymen, and you'll go out with them to a job site. You'll help them get an area ready for floor covering. Um, we install different types of floor, so it could be carpet, linoleum, tile, wood floors, numerous anything that you walk on a day-to-day basis. When you go into a building, we install. And so that's the materials you would be handling when you first get into the trades. And then we work on a sliding progression scale. So most of our apprentices, it's a 5-year program. Every 6 months you advance, and as you advance, you're delegated more job duties. And then eventually, after depending on how fast you progress through the program, after 4 to 5 years, you become a journeyman. And then you usually get your own van, your own crew, and then you start going out to job sites and you start running your own jobs. And that's our trade in a nutshell of basically what day to day goes. But normally your days are from 6 to 2:30 in the afternoon, which I loved. You get up early, you're off by 2:30, the sun's still out, you still have the afternoon, and to spend with your family. And day to day, it's the same thing every day. 6 to 2:30 work, and the pay is great. And so it's a great industry for people that want to work with their hands. And I highly encourage it. When I graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went from job to job to job, for about 6 years until I got into the trade. And lo and behold, when I got in the trade, I never left. And so here I am today.
That's great. Yeah, I like waking up early too, actually. It just gives me more time for the afternoon.
Me, I've transitioned. Yeah, I've transitioned to this job, which is a normal 8 to 5. And it's amazing how big that 2.5 hour difference is. I like to go to the gyms. And so when I would get off at 2:30, I would go to the gym. I'd be done by 5. At that time, my significant other was coming home from work. My son was done with his homework. And, that little gap of time allowed me to do what I needed to do. And then I could focus on my family the rest of the evening. So that's why I loved the hours. These new hours, it's hard to get used to for me, because after 12 years of being, 5 a.m. to 1:30 was my shift. It got hard to getting used to this schedule. So.
Yeah, I can see that. So you kind of answered this already, but like, are there internships and apprenticeships usually offered? And like, do you receive on-the-job training?
Yes, absolutely. So we have different ways of getting into floor covering. Um, the general way is most people come in as what we call material handlers. And so these handlers basically come in and work in the warehouse. and until they're familiar with the glues and the cements and the different types of flooring that we work with. Once they learn these different products and materials that we use, they usually, at that point, their foreman will ask them to go down and take a test to get into our apprenticeship program. And then at that point, they would start their installation part of their career. We've had some people that don't want to get into the installation part, but still stayed, as a warehouseman or a handler, and they've done that their entire careers. So we have different avenues of getting into our trade. You have, like I said, you have handlers that work in the warehouse and do just the demolition work when it comes to flooring, and then we have what we call pre-apprentices. Pre-apprentices are kind of like an internship. It gives them 6 months to try out the trade, but you don't get full benefits. And so you have 6 months, you get paid hourly, obviously, but you don't receive the normal benefits that all the other installers or warehousemen would get. And that's minus your pension, your annuities, and things like that. You would get medical coverage and your hourly pay, and that's it.
Uh-huh.
So
Pre-apprenticeship sounds good to try it out and see if you like it.
There's actually pre-apprentice programs, and they kind of they introduce you to all the trades. There's one in the Bay Area, in the South Bay, that's called the TOP program, which stands for Trades Orientations Program, and it basically introduces you to all the trades and construction, and then at that point you would pick which one you think is best for you. But there's different avenues. I have some guys come in, they try our trade, they don't like it, they go try another trade. Whereas somebody may be pre-apprenticed in the painting industry, and then they come over into our industry. So it's just, it gives people the opportunity to try it out without fully committing to it.
Yeah, that's great. I wish there was something similar for like college. But yeah.
Yeah.
So what educational background do most people in this career usually have?
The most common is high school graduate, but we have everybody from high school graduates to people with GEDs. We have people with AAs, BAs. It just, depends on the individual. We have, we encourage people to finish school. It used to be a requirement that you either had a GED or a high school diploma in order to take our apprenticeship exam. We've lifted that right now, but for the most part, that was a requirement. You had to have a high school diploma.
Uh-huh. Do you think this job is like risky? Are there any like injuries that happen in the field?
Well, so our trade, floor covering itself, is most people say it's physically hard, and it is. Crawling around on your knees for 8 hours to 10 hours a day every day takes a toll on your body. You're hunched over, you're walking on your knees, you're using your hands repetitiously, and so it's physically hard on your body. But I loved what I did, and so there were some injuries. You work with blades. I've cut myself. I've heard of other guys pulling muscles, hurting their backs and things like that. As long as you take care of your body and you practice safety on the jobs, it's really not that big of a risk.
Mm-hmm.
But accidents do happen. I mean, in any construction job, accidents happen.
Yeah. So when you get into those accidents, is there like disability insurance, so like hazard pay?
It's required. It's required by all our employers to have workers' comp insurance. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Uh, how do promotions work for this career, and how did you become a union representative?
How do promotions work?
Or like, how do you advance
Okay.
in this career?
So I kind of touched on it earlier. So basically, in our apprenticeship program, either there's two requirements in order to advance. You have to submit your school hours. So our apprentices, they go to school once a quarter for a week. And then once they complete that and they have so many work hours in the field on the books, they are up for advancement every 6 months. And so with our apprenticeship program, if you advance at a normal rate, it takes about 5 years. And after 5 years, you're basically promoted, or you're given the title journeyman. And you get a state certified certificate, and you're a state certified journeyman in the craft that you journeyed out in. And so usually from there, as a journeyman, if you're a productive journeyman, you bring your jobs in on time, there's no issues, people don't get hurt on them, you don't get callbacks and things of that nature, you can be promoted to a leadman. And usually the lead men is the guys that run the projects, get the guys set up in the morning. This is the game plan. This is what I want installed. And then they usually work with the contractors, the general contractors, and the other tradesmen to get more area ready for the following day. And so, you go from, like I said earlier, most people start out in the warehouse, they learn the materials, then they go into the apprenticeship program, they learn how to install those materials, and then they become a journeyman, and then they're working in the field. And then from there, you can promote to leadman. And then usually from the leadman, they pick the foreman. And so the foreman is basically the guy that gets all the job tickets and he mans up the jobs. He appoints a leadman, and then you go from there. Now my job, how I got the business representative, I attended my union meetings while I performed my work in the field. And so once a month, every union has a union meeting. In that meeting, you have what's called an executive board. The executive board makes all the decisions and financial spending for the union. And so I went to meetings. I was nominated to be a trustee, so I overseen all the finances for the union. Meantime, while I'm doing all my work as an installer in the field, and I was a trustee for 7 years, overseeing the books within our union. The business representative before me decided to retire, and this position became available, and I applied for it. There's 3 representatives for our union. 2 are appointed and 1 is elected. And so I applied for an appointed position, and I got the job. I was appointed as a business representative. 2 years in as a business representative, the members of the union had voted me in as their elected representative. And so at that point, that's where I got to where I'm at today.
Great. That's awesome. I mean, congrats on becoming union representative.
Thank you.
How, in your experience, how does the pay vary from job to job within the industry?
So that's the great thing about being union. Our pay stays the same regardless if I go to San Francisco or if I go to Salinas. Wherever I go, my pay stays the same. Whatever shop I worked for stays the same. Currently, right now, we have over 40 shops in our union that our installers can go work for. And whether they go work for a shop in San Jose or a shop in San Francisco, their pay stays with whatever level they are. So me being a journeyman, I can go anywhere and my pay stays the same. And then as far as the pay difference between being union and non-union, you're talking there's probably about a $50-$60 delta because of our benefit packages and the amount of money that we make. And so if you are going to get into this industry, your best bet would be to go union if you are to do it.
Uh, is this like a stable career? Can you expect to keep this job for many years without any concern?
Well, our construction always evolves around economy, right? And so if the economy is good, people are building, and if the economy is bad, not so much. And so it's been good to me. I build for 12 years. I went through the 2008 recession, and I took a dip in hours, but it was enough. I was getting enough work to support my family, and so it's. I would say it's a good career. I have multiple family members that have done this career. My uncle got in this trade in 1963, and he's a pension receiving member from this trade. I have other uncles that are pension receiving members from this trade, as well as cousins. And so everybody in my family eventually took this route, and at some way or another, whether they stayed or not, that was their own individual choice. But I was one of the ones that stayed, and everyone that has stayed before me and my family, they've all worked their entire careers and now receiving pensions. We're able to support their families, buy homes, send their kids to college. And, so I think it's very sustainable, You're not going to get rock star rich, but you're going to be able to live life.
Yeah, that's good. So I see
Yep.
it runs in the family.
Yep. And that was the thing. I wish I would have joined right out of high school, because I wasted a lot of time trying to find out what I wanted to do. And I was always kind of like the rebel type. I didn't want to listen to my elders in my family, and I was going to go do it on my own. I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. And lo and behold, 6 years later, I was doing what everybody else was doing. So had I done that, I would probably be over 20 years now in this industry. But everything happens for a reason. So I experienced a lot in that 6 years. I worked everything from hospitality to the tech industry to you name it. I've tried out everything, and when I came across this, it really just grabbed me, and I liked what I did. The ability to not work in the same place every day, to go to different cities, to go see different areas of the Bay Area, to get onto projects that I would normally never be able to get into. I've worked in the NASA buildings, Moffett Field, the Trans-American building in San Francisco. There's tons of places that I was able to go into just because I was a construction worker that you wouldn't normally be able to. So.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really cool about those buildings. You kind of already
Yeah.
said this already, but you can just recap this in like a few sentences. But how does
Okay.
one get started in this career?
I would just reach out to, if any construction trade interests somebody, I would recommend just calling the union halls for those industries. And usually at that point, whether it's a representative or one of the admins, they're going to direct you on how to get into the trade. But specifically for mine, you would just either go to our website, and then there we have multiple trades that you can look at, and then each trade has a representative, and you reach out to that person, and he would guide you on how to get into the industry.
Great. Last question, or last two
Okay.
questions. What is the least enjoyable part of this career, and is there anything else someone should know when they're interested in this career?
What is the least? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, the least enjoyable part of this career.
Um, it's like I said, it's physically demanding, and on the days that you're tired and really don't want to give it your all, working on your hands and knees is not the funnest thing to do at times. Uh, there's days when you get on a dirty job or something like that. Um, you get into a building that is a brand new building and the heat's not established, and you go in the wintertime, it's going to be cold. You go in the summertime and it's a brand new building and they're testing the heaters and it's hot, and you got the heaters going full blast. It's not fun. But all in all, the only downside that I can think of is just you never know the consistency of this industry. You can go from working 60 hours a week 1 month to working 2 and 3 days the next month, just depending on the market, how the bids are going and things of that nature. So there's not a Monday through Friday guaranteed 40 hours a week, but if you can get past that and you know how to budget your money and you learn how to save money, it's not really that big of a downside.
Uh-huh. Anything else that you want to talk about?
Um, when I went to high school, the big thing was, this was a while back, and Silicon Valley was booming. Everybody was pushing everybody to the tech industries. When I went to high school, we used to have auto shop, metal shop, wood shops, all these different types of shops. And then my younger brother, went to the same school as me. Well, they eliminated all those shops and they started pushing everybody towards the tech industry and going into those fields. There are ample opportunities in the world if college is not your thing. I grew up in an era where it was like frowned upon if you didn't go to college. But there are careers that you don't need a college education, and you can make a good living at it. A lot of our guys are making 6-figure money in the field right now, and without a college education. Um, but whatever it is you do decide to do, just follow it, to the fullest, and strive to not just be that one thing, because once you get into something, there's always room for growth in anything that you do. So don't ever just settle on, getting your foot in the door and staying right there. Always kind of strive to do more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to have this really in-depth interview. I'm sure it's going to be really helpful for a lot of our students.
Perfect. Anytime. And if you guys, once schools are open back up and you guys have anything going on as career fairs or anything like that, we'll be more than willing to come out and talk to the students and bring out some stuff like our virtual sprayer so you can get some hands-on experience. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you found a job that pays you well and that you love to do, because not everyone can do that.
Well, I hope the same for you when you're ready to jump into a career. So
yeah, I sure hope so. But yeah, thank you and have a good day then.
You too.
Yeah.